guys, I'm actually up in nature right now, so I thought that I'd do my lyric explanation of my song Sounds of Nature. All these lyrics are on Genius. There's also song breakdown videos of these songs where I just talk about kind of the song in a more general way, but these are kind of more of an opportunity to look at each line more specifically. Um, but yeah, check them out on RicoR Music, my YouTube channel. Um, but yeah, right now I'm sitting here in the forest, and I want to do my song about the forest, which is Sounds of Nature, and I'm gonna talk about kind of each lyric a little more in depth, and yeah. The chirping of the birds, the sounds of the wind, these are the sounds of nature. So, I was raised with indigenous thinking, and I mean, you could take this line on a surface level and say, yeah, of course, the birds and the wind are all part of nature. Um, but the meaning behind that for me is that I have a very strong relationship with nature. That's where the song comes from. And I kind of always think about nature as my best friend in a lot of ways. Even right now, just being here helps keep me centered. And I like sometimes to go out and just drive out into these spots and just kind of be by myself and just take in nature, and just that experience really helps keep me grounded. So nature, from an indigenous standpoint, is way more than just the ground. Like, it is really, when you cultivate and develop a relationship with it, is very special and it can go a long way. Cry of the plants in distant highways, these are the sounds of nature. So, fun fact about the song, actually, I kind of wrote this at a writing workshop. So I was actually sitting outside and kind of taking in the nature and writing these words. And there was a highway close by. So that's where that came from. But I think also at the same time, when you think about the highway is nature in a holistic sense, because nature doesn't just mean trees and the grass and all that, even though that is kind of the immediate interpretation. But nature just means life and just the world and just the surroundings around you. And anything is a part of nature when you sit and take in nature and your surroundings. Anything that you hear becomes a part of those surroundings and becomes a part of where you are. So distant highways are still a part of the wheel. One of my favorite films is Tuck Everlasting, which talks a lot about time and kind of the circular motion of time, and they talk a lot about kind of the forest and the woods being the center of the wheel. And that to me is very personal. That film has been very personal to me, among others that kind of talk about this whole idea of nature being at the center. And that really means that, yeah, the woods are there and everything that's in the woods is nature, but then everything outside of the woods is also nature, because nature is a general concept. Anything that the creator in indigenous thinking, you would say that the creator gave you all these things. Anything that he gives you is a part of nature. That would be my way to describe that. Listen, live, breathe in Mother Earth's beauty. Um, so, when I take moments, like I said before, like this, where I'm kind of in nature and I have an opportunity to really think, and meditate, it helps me out a lot. Um, and Mother Earth is there to help you. She's really the answer to all of our problems when we think about all the colonial things that are happening in the world that are based off of, I think a lot of those things can be based off of a lack of connection with nature that we've forgotten. So, when you take the time to listen to Mother Earth, it really helps, and it really helps you kind of keep yourself grounded. And that's not me trying to impose any religion or anything. It's just, you know, she is just the earth. To me, she's Mother Earth, but she is. I mean, even in other cultures, but just the earth, and just when you're with nature, um, when you take in that beauty, it can really keep you grounded and keep you centered and make you think about things you don't think about, sometimes. And it can sometimes help you kind of think about how to solve things and kind of how to think about solving things. So there's a lot of layers there. When I sit and feel myself on the ground, I listen to the faint sounds go around. The sun bright, the sky all right, an ongoing expanse of nature surrounds. When I sit and feel Mother Earth on my feet, I feel her presence telling me to stop and greet. The places I go, the worlds I know, the things I see when I am just me, listening to nature. So that first verse, kind of just what I said, is just really all about kind of how when I'm here and I'm listening to nature or just anywhere, like it really helps me stay grounded, and it really helps me kind of, learn how to kind of stay myself, because I can be, I'm so influenced sometimes by everything around me and people, and, you go about your daily life, but I feel like when you're in nature, it really kind of reminds you of who you are. And for me, nature is part of my identity, as I talked about, and kind of how I was raised. So with that mentality, I think a lot about kind of um, how it really keeps me myself and keeps my identity whole. Um, and that's really important. When I go to the place that I have heard, it's special, it's prominent like a bird. It's my mother, unbiologically, from white spectrum, indigenous is biologically. So this is an interesting part, because in indigenous cultures, we use the word cousin and mother very differently than in Western culture, because Western culture relies on those words basically coming from blood and stemming from blood and blood relationships. We don't think about that. We think about your mother as you can have an uncle who you're not blood related to, because it's not about the blood. It's not about the blood quantum. Blood quantum would imply percentage, your biological heritage. Um, and we don't think that way. We have relationships do not have to be like relationships on the level of a mother or a father or any of that do not have to come from blood. You can be adopted into a tribe. There's many different examples of that, but in essence, relationships they just come from the bonding and the connection and the truth. And if the heart's in the right place, then the connection's there, then the blood doesn't matter. So, when I say that nature's my mother, it's Mother Earth, that's an unbiological idea, you know. But for indigenous people, the idea of what is biological just comes from the life force and the connection of the life force, and that connection that's there that has nothing to do with blood. And so that's why, unbiologically from white spectrum, if you look at it from a white standpoint, it's unbiological, but from an indigenous standpoint, it is. Also, birds are a huge part of, any animal kind of has their special power. Birds have a very special power. And birds are always very prominent. They're always kind of very present. They have a big life force. I'm thinking specifically too about an eagle. One of my favorite other films is Brother Bear, and the presence of the eagle in that film as a savior and as somebody who is an ancestor. It's a very prominent life force. So birds are very important. It's all over the world, a spiritual feeling, like coming closer to the perfect notion. Now think, breathe, see for me, the place to express yourself. So, I talk a lot about my indigenous identity or like my American indigenous identity, because that's who I am, but it's really, that concept is all over the world. And if we can find that in any culture, just that sense of connection with the nature and just community, it really comes down to community, love, compassion, and keeping yourself centered and grounded in those values. If we think about that, and just take from any culture that where those values really feed, then we're going to make the world a better place, literally. And I know that's a cliche line, but it's really true. If we can think about kind of centering ourselves in that way, then things are going to go. And again, like I talked about before, how when I'm in nature, I can really express myself more than some other places. Nature is kind of where I rest as my base, alongside my family and home. And I think that's a very common experience. So when you're in nature, really, that's the place you can really express yourself. And it sometimes really helps you to gather your thoughts and ready yourself for certain other kind of external interactions. But if you have that base in nature and just understanding the world as a whole and having kind of a very holistic understanding of nature and the environment and what it means and where you are, then you're going to be moving closer to actually being able to answer some of the questions you have about, how to solve things. And, there's a lot of layers there, but it is really, I personally have felt that nature really is the place where I can express myself and where those ideas really come into play. A lot of the ideas that I can have and where I'm able to kind of think about them and reflect on them and kind of constantly analyze and constantly change and move. And that freedom comes a lot from just kind of this as a base right here. So without further ado, check out my song Sounds of Nature. And I have other stuff out as well. And I have other lyric videos for some of my other songs too, you guys can check out. And yeah, stay safe and enjoy nature. Thank you. Hey guys, it's RicoR. Thank you guys so much for watching this Genius analysis video. Please be sure to check out the Genius lyric site alongside it, link below this video, where there's written versions of a lot of the stuff I'm talking about in the video, as well as some stuff that's not in the video. And also please be sure to check out the original studio recordings. Thank you guys so much, and cheers.